If you have a flat tire on the side of the road and you're just sitting by the car, nobody's stopping. But if you start pushing the car, somebody's going to stop to help you because you at least started to put some effort into it. Nobody's going to put effort into you if you aren't. Nobody's going to invest in you if you aren't. So you start pushing that car and watch somebody stop to help you push, not lift the car and you sit where you know what I mean? That doesn't, no, it is let people see you in action using what you have.
Hey yo, G Dash, boy, take your hat off. Fine. This week on Hats Off with G Dash Jones.
Hey, guess who's Bizak? It's your boy G Dash Jones. Oh, you know what you're watching. Oh, gotta keep it acoustic sometime. See, this Hats Off with your boy G Dash Jones. Woo! And today's theme music by Callum. This is the present past. I said, this is the present past, y'all. Woo! I just gotta let that thing drop one good time for the P-Pad. Hold on. What? Let's go. Woo! I ain't gonna do too much. Oh, I said hit it with the skirt. Oh, skirt. Yeah. Again, you were watching Hats Off with your boy G Dash Jones. That was today's theme music by an artist named Callum, aka and that song was called The Present Past on all your DSPs. Go check out Callum on all your DSPs, letting the guitars out. The Present Past. Now today, if y'all didn't hear me, I'm gonna tell you, say it again. Now we getting started. We got a gentleman who is, let's just say what he has been able to do with the P-Bap. From building the poet life, which the Poet Life University, teaching poets different things. As I mentioned, the workshop is coming. Also, the Poet Life Festival, he had that rocking out, seen that live and in person myself. Also, the Poet Business Network. So I done took the workshops. I done been to the festival. I've been, even a part of the network ain't as active as I should be. I own that. But either way, I done been on the screen sharing with them, literally networking with the poets. It's a whole world and an ecosystem being built, and I ain't even mentioned Belgium. You know what I mean? Like I didn't even go. I ain't take a flight yet. Okay. Yeah. Oh man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Christoph Jenkins. How are you feeling, good brother?
I'm well, man. All is well. This was a long week, man, and but I'm excited to get to the weekend and get some rest in, man. So all is well. I can't complain. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely glad to have you. It's been a long time coming. I've been waiting for this.
Yeah.
Now, well, just to back up, tell people a little bit about yourself.
For sure, man. Hey, real quick, everybody, do me a favor. Share this live out, man. Let's get it out to the people. Share it with some poets. So as G Dash said, I'm Christoph Jenkins. I'm the founder and creator of the Poet Life, but also the Poetry Business Network and the host of the Poetry Business Podcast. And started writing poetry first grade, giving us assignment to create a poetry book. I was going to say write a poetry book, but to create a poetry book from scratch with nothing, to taking some cardboard, folding it in half, stapling some papers in there, to make the book, taking felt material to create the jacket of the book, the copyright page, the whole nine, and to have that project and then to write the poetry. But to have to do that in first grade while your mind is developing, I was hooked ever since, man. And I think ever since I've been trying to figure out how to do this poetry as a living, and it's been a major journey here. I'm about to be 43 in October, and basically I've been trying to figure this out for 30 years, and ultimately I did when I redefined poetry to be a creative, attractive way to present a message. So when you say that, or when you say it like that, that should tell you that everybody needs poetry. Everybody needs a creative, attractive way to present a message. And so that opens your mind and your opportunities to what you can do with your poetry.
Ooh. Oh man. All right. So that's a lot. You done did a lot. Um,
Yeah.
we going to listen, stapling them by hand though.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Well, let's back up. Let's back up
Let's talk
just a
about it.
taste. All right. So how did your journey into poetry? How did that start?
Ultimately, right there, I didn't know I could write. I knew I was super shy when I was a kid. What is that? Age 6, first grade, right? And didn't really want to talk too much in class. Two girls, it's just so poetry gave me that opportunity and that outlet to express myself, right? So there was no anxiety, there's no fear in sharing my thoughts in writing on paper. So I just continued to do that to where I was writing poetry for uh, weddings, people in my family, funerals, people in my family, and I think I wrote the obituary poem for every person who passed in my family. Yeah, that poem in the back of the bulletin poem, and then they would have me come up to the front while I'm crying. You know what I'm saying? To recite the poem that I wrote. And from there, man, it was Black History programs at school and at church, and just that progression, and that showed me, especially when in 2012, when a friend of mine passed away with cancer, who didn't start writing poetry until after he was diagnosed with cancer. So that just showed me that he found the functionality in poetry where there's a place of peace, a coping mechanism, a way to leave a legacy, because unfortunately he passed. So his poetry lives on. We published his book of poetry that chronicled his journey with cancer. The book is called The Fight of My Life, and his name is Justin Islar. It's on Amazon and everything. And ultimately, I simply wanted to become the person that I needed when I was trying to figure it out.
Wow. So how did you cut in your world? Do you still write?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I tried my hand at spoken word poetry, man. And I like it to perform it. However, I found out that I don't have a passion for the stage. And at first, when I think teenage years, I was trying to figure it out to where, okay, I know I love poetry, I know I love writing. So why don't I like being on stage? And somebody said, "Wait, maybe you have stage fright." And I was like, "No, I have no problem, speaking on stage and things." But I think the process of performing is where the work comes in for me. That's work, right? The rehearsal and memorizing over and over and over. The writing is the passion for me, and I like to pursue the passion, and let those who have a passion for the stage do that. And my father said, what if like a songwriter, you wrote the poetry and connected with actors and actresses, and you provided the lyrics or the words, and they performed your poetry, and you do poetic productions. I was like, oh, I got it. And then I started getting paid at churches to create full out poetic productions where this actor and this actress was reciting the poetry that I wrote, and it was a dialogue. And so I say that to say there are a lot of poets who don't claim themselves as poets because they don't perform, or they don't want to perform. And everybody said, well, if you don't perform, you're not a poet. And I want to free people and I want to free poets of that bondage, because if you like writing poetry, there are different ways to present it. Yeah.
By the way, that's why you ain't gotta have rhythm. Now, so like
True story.
real talk. But now, okay, so you're in this world where you got kind of thrown an outside idea of what to do with poetry, right? And it was like, oh, really? You start doing this thing, which, by the way, as a poet myself, most of us don't know that to look at it differently. How long did it take you for you to realize that, oh, wait, a lot of poets don't know that?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I had to step outside the box, man. I had to be bold and make that statement. You know, when I found my lane in poetry, one, the writing of haiku, but also the education and business aspect of poetry. Once I found my lane and my footing, you know, I had to I had to be bold to say that and risk there being controversy from the poets who said, "No, man, you're not a poet." You know. And but when I started getting responses from poets saying, "Thank you for saying and sharing that," because I thought myself to be a poet, but every time I said it, everybody was like, "Well, spit something. Well, say something." You know what I mean? And they were like, "Well, that's not me. That's not. So where do I fit in?" So I completely understood what they were saying, and I think spoken word is the most popular, right? That's the most popular element to poetry, but there's a lot of value in page poetry as opposed to stage poetry.
Okay, listen, if you can't tell, my eyebrows look like this right now. They a little scrunched up. I'm gonna tell you why. The fact that you got hate for poet empowerment, my brain is trying to understand.
Yeah.
There were people who thought there are people, and I guess I'm asking this, there are people who believe that if one doesn't perform spoken word, or if one's poetry just isn't made to be purely read from book, then it's not poetic.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And shoot, think about I was pioneering in the uh connection to business and poetry. And so, right? So when I was presenting that, oh man, I was getting vitriol with the poets who um uh believe poetry to be so sacred that money should not be connected to it. And oh man, what? Yeah, I get it now when on threads and capitalism and blah blah. All that, man. Poetry is this mystical. I said, man,
Hmm.
this is what I need. This is what I need poets to understand, man. Um, we need to respect those who want to do poetry for the love, right? And those who do it for the love need to respect those who want to do it for a living.
Yeah, well, yes, and I mean, to be clear, there's an element of both that can be done, right? Nothing dictates that it's a one size fits. So two things can be true. A and B, I'm sorry, I think most people who have heard poetry, at least learned it in school or like were raised with it, whether it be from Langston Hughes, Maya Angelou, or Shakespeare, all of them, all of them sold their poetry. Like it's not like all of it. Shakespeare's poetry, you know how much money they make off of Shakespeare a year?
Well, here's the thing. Here's their argument. All of those poets were broke, and they became famous and wealthy posthumous after they passed. So they basically are. So since the beginning of time, everybody said that there's no money in poetry. Um, and here's the reason. Here's the reason that I found out. The reason why people have said that there's no money in poetry is because we've only known and focused on the community, and there's no money in a community. Think about it. Where you live in a neighborhood, right? You live in a community. But you leave that community in the morning and go into a what? An industry to go to work. The plumbing industry, the education industry, the whatever industry that you work in. But that's why we could not find the money in poetry, is because we've been trying to find it in a community, and nobody's getting paid in a community but the landscapers, people cutting the grass.
Mm,
You see what I'm
because
saying?
ooh,
Yeah.
ooh,
So
listen,
that's why it has to be the community and the industry, the business world of poetry.
yes, and the interesting thing, I believe what applies here applies everywhere. I think that applies in so many levels. Just even black man to black man, the black community needs industry to be able to do it. That's why the dollar don't travel that way. The poetry community, sometimes a lot of poets poet for other poets,
Mm-hmm.
right? But
Mm-hmm.
that means you're only cycling. Like, it's like going in the room, and I seen somebody say this the other day. It's going into a open mic for poetry open mic, and all you see is other poets there. Well, that means there's no new money coming in. There's
Right.
nobody is bringing money into this room. It's just a bunch of us recycling our own dollar. We're not adding new
Right.
funds to this, right? So okay. Well, now let's make this connection. How did you connect to business, like in your journey? How did those details come to you?
You know what, man? Good question, bro. And I love this conversation. I can do this for hours, man. So I appreciate this platform. You know, it was 3 o'clock in the morning one night. You know, it's one of those ambitious nights, where you just couldn't sleep. And I was just like, listen, man, I know for sure that there is, I think it might have been 2014 or something like that. And I said, there has to be somebody saying something about there being a way to make money with your poetry outside of, you know, write a poem for a wedding and the normal stuff, the regular stuff, and pay to get in the magazine, and all that stuff. Yeah. And so I found on like page 17 of Google, if it's not on page one, then you just stop looking. You know what I'm saying? But I was on page 17, like searching, digging for gold. And then I came across this article on a business uh, uh digital magazine, or I found an article basically um, about or on the haiku guys. And this is a company now called the Haikuists, who have typewriters in old style, blazers and, old style looking clothes, who write haiku with their typewriters at parties and events for party favors to the attendees. And I said, okay, whoa, 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 whoa. And I think the title of it was like, make poets found money in poetry or something like that. I was like, okay, I found something. I gotta find that article too. I gotta frame that. Um, and I read the article and I said, oh, wait, the event planners pay them, not the attendees. We're used to, as individual poets, we're used to hand, poet to person, right? Buy my book and this, that, and the third, come to my open mic. No, they went to the event planner to enhance their event, to give them something unique for their event. And they sit down, two poets at a table with their two typewriters, and they sit and have great conversations at the event or the party. And they translate the conversations that they have on those typewriters on an index card, and they give that index card to the attendee as party favors. So the attendees walk away with something memorable about the conversation that they had, and the event planner comes off with an amazing event that is memorable. I said, "Oh man, that is a service." And what I call now, I'm sure you're familiar with in technology, SaaS, which is software as a service. So I coined the phrase or the title PASS, poetry as a service. And so, yeah, man, so that told me that we can enhance and disrupt other industries with poetry.
So, poetry as a service. Now, by the way, side note, in case you don't know, you're watching Hats Off with your boy G-Jones. I had the one and only, the amazing, the Poet Life, the Poet Business Network. You want to learn the business of poetry, the Creative Strategist International, right? See, sometimes you leave out the word poetry. He taught me that. Okay, yeah, I'm asking questions like I ain't go through the class.
Let's talk
But,
about it.
all right, poetry as a service. Okay. Now, so you saw how did that translate into, you kind of had that idea. Then once you had that download, you saw what they was doing. What was the next move to implement the moment? Like, how did you get it cooking?
Very good. You're good. I like it. I like your skills, sir. I like your skills. You're moving this thing along. I like it, man. So that night I got on eBay and I bought a typewriter. That night, 3 o'clock in the morning, bought me a typewriter for like $25. You know, nobody's buying a typewriter, right? And I said, I'm not going to reach out to them. I'm going to start writing haiku myself, not to steal their trap, not to steal their flow, but to do research and through action. And what I want to see happen is I want them to start reaching out to me to say, hey, we would love to have you on our team or something like that. And started typing haiku and posting it on Instagram. And I think that was the birth of Christoph Writes was my moniker then. I love to stick with a unique name that hits hard, you know, and so I think maybe a month or 2, 3 months or something like that, they reached out to me. They're based out in New York, but now they're international where they have poets everywhere. And they took a train ride from New York to DC to meet me at Union Station in DC. They said, bring your typewriter and some index cards. Basically, I had an interview for poetry at Union Station with a typewriter, and they tested my skill and speed to be able to, like you do, freestyle poetry on the spot. Got the job, man. I've been working with them for, man, over 10 years, you know, and to know, so in my mind, that was like on the job training. That was OJT. I'm learning their systems and how they think. And I was like, this is genius. It was like a paid internship where I was honing my skill, but also I was learning the business of poetry right then and there. And that alone inspired and opened my mind to think, okay, that means we need to go to the source, the creators of these events, and offer ourselves to them to show them that we add value to events. When you do what you do, right, to take a word, a phrase, a sentence, and turn it into something amazing, that is a superpower, bro. Anything that is a skill that somebody else can't do That's a superpower.
Wow.
Indeed.
Listen, I see what you did there, but we're not talking about me. So here's what I'm saying. I see what
I
you're
can't
good too.
help it, man. I just keep teaching. You know what I'm saying? It's just
But okay, right now let me frame this together. Okay, so now you know you got the haikus is cooking. You're writing. You're learning the business. Something about this moment said, I need to share this with the world.
right,
And then, like, I want to put other poets on.
right.
How did that turn from you just kind of being you learning
Got it.
the game to you saying we're gonna get this game out? I'm not holding this.
Got it. So from there, man, when my friend passed in 2012, I started a nonprofit called Fighting Cancer with Poetry, and from 2012 to 2015, I ran that nonprofit. To be honest with you, straight out of passion and not really knowing how to run a nonprofit. You know, most people who start nonprofits don't really know the ins and outs of nonprofits, and really, it's called a nonprofit. You know,
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? So
yes,
I said, bro, I'm putting all my time and effort and heart in this thing, man. And what I don't want to see is I burn out and become resentful because, and 2015 is when I started having kids, married at 2012, and everything's just stuff and life just started changing. And I said, I need a for-profit. I need a for-profit. I need to start an actual business where eyes aren't on my money. In a nonprofit, all eyes are on where the money's going. We want to make sure we're not dealing with no scams and things of that nature, right? And so, but I didn't want to do something or start a business in a random, with a random service or a random product. And so I wanted to stay in poetry, and that's when the Poet Life came about. But actually, when I started, it was Poet Life Gear. I wanted to start a clothing line to supplement fighting cancer with poetry, where we would wear poetry clothes and this, that, and the third. You got the, but also I started seeing, once I got into poetry real heavy, I started to see voids, like gaps in and that needed to be filled, like poets who get on stage, like at open mics, they come straight from work and they just wear whatever. I just started to see that we need professionalism. If we're going to take it there to that next level, just imagine a poet getting on stage, spitting an amazing poem with a shirt that said Poet Life, or even one of the bars from their poems on their shirt. I would see that, man, that poet takes their art serious, not just the memorization and the gestures and the uh, projection of their voices, but they represent what they create and what they produce. They're wearing it. And when they're out, that means when they walk down the street, somebody can recognize. Can you recognize a poet when they're walking down the street? No. But if you rocking a hat, a shirt, right, that is like for a person seeing a unicorn that they've never seen before. I see a poet. How do you know that's a poet? Look at his shirt. It says he's a poet. So when I wear shirts and hats and stuff like that at the airport, the restaurants, they're like, "So you write poetry?" I'm like, "Yeah." And sometimes I forget I'm wearing it. They're like, I'm like, how did you know that? I was like, they were like, your hat. I was like, oh, right. Yeah, I write poetry. And then they're like, man, we start talking about poetry at the restaurant or the airport. It's a conversation starter. And who knows, they might be a person with an opportunity who works at an organization or is about to get married, whatever the situation is. Now you're creating opportunities without even opening your mouth. Yeah. It's like a walking billboard. When you walk out the house, you know somebody's going to stare or stop you.
Yes, yes. And again, in case you don't know, you're watching Hats Off with your boy G-Jones. What I want to mention, I like to talk to my people. I'm sorry, I got to talk to you. Hey, you in the back. Yes, you can brand yourself at whatever industry you in. But if you are a poet, people don't think about branding poets. Again, you can brand yourself, right? I gotta go back to all the famous poets have been branded in their own way. Still I Rise. Guess what? Why do you know that? Because that was a part of branding. Okay, okay. Dream Deferred. Why do you know that? Branding. Okay, it wasn't by accident. That man wrote 1 million poems. Okay, right. Okay, that man wrote 1 million poems. Why is that the one? People don't realize it's not an accident. These things come from branding and kind of in making that, allowing that to be known. Now, with that said, okay, how did you know that you had fell into your purpose, right? Because for you, this wasn't something that, like, at this point, you said 2012, 2013, 14. Well, we're 10 years down the road, sir.
10-year
How did
anniversary,
you know that
bro.
this was something that you wanted to continue to press out and push?
Yeah, you know, when I was younger, I would ask, money people. I would ask, like when they would ask me what I want to be when I grow up, and I asked a millionaire one time, or they asked me what do I want to be or do, and I said I want to be a poet, and they said no, there's no money in poetry, you know, and me being ambitious, all right, so where's the money? They said the money's in technology. All right, got my degree in technology. I'm going where the money is. I don't mean no harm, right? But when something is connected to your purpose or is your purpose, you can't run away from it. It's going to chase you down. You see what I'm saying? So situations and opportunities just kept coming my way as it relates to poetry, and you just can't stop thinking about it. You just can't think. You can't stop because you were born with it in you. You can't run away from that if it's on your person or in your person, So it was just a matter of giving in, man, and having the courage to give into that. It's easy to run away from it. Most people do. Most people sit on their purpose because they got bills, right? And they got kids and they got they got responsibilities. And so now purpose is not a priority. You understand? Right? Yeah. So that's why when I work with kids, I teach them to begin pursuing purpose now, because in a minute you're going to have a cell phone bill when your mom takes you off her plan. And then you're just going to get a random job just to pay the bill. And then when that happens, more bills start coming. You get rent, you get mortgage, and things of that nature. And purpose is not going to be, again, high priority for you. And that question of what do you want to be when you grow up, in my mind, is, I don't want to say it's a trap, but it's a trap, because it's too late when you grow up. And they only give you 5 options anyway. You can be a cop, you can be a doctor, you can be a lawyer, you can be at a young kid. What do I know about these industries and their day-to-day, workings? Why aren't you telling me or asking me what do you want to create right now? We literally live in the future. We have self-driving cars outside and things of that nature, right? Kids are millionaires now. But the ones who are intentional and have parents that are laser looking in on their passions and purposes. My daughter at 6 wrote her first children's book. She's doing AI now. And, and because I know, listen, they just announced that in China, they're making it mandatory in September for 6-year-olds and up to learn AI.
Yeah.
because they're looking at what's coming and they have to be prepared for it. And if we don't, we're going to get left behind. You
Mm.
see what I'm saying? And so if the school's not teaching, I took my kids out of school. They're homeschooled now, right? Cursive, they know cursive already. 6, 8, 10, 7, 8, 10. She just had a birthday, you know. And they're about to get started to learn poetry to help them learn education. Because think about it, everybody forgot that we learned how to read through poetry.
Yo, I ooh, like you made me malfunction for a second. I'll say this without saying this. I think when people look at some of the degradation in some of how they judge music, right?
Yeah,
Like it's because there was a time, and no judgment, people like what they like, but there was a time when songwriting started from poetry. I don't care what type of artist you were, but definitely hip hop. But all songwriting
for
started from
sure.
poetry, and all of a sudden there became a time when it shifted to people creating music based on money or commercialism or even just other music, but not necessarily the art of writing. Now, but with that said, with that journey, I have to ask you this: looking at it, what's your take? A lot of people are afraid of AI when it comes to the arts. A lot of people are afraid of AI when it comes to, especially like things like poetry and things like that. What is your take on how those things can interact?
Got it. Learn how not to be fearful, right? Learn how not to be fearful of new technology and innovation. People were scared of the microwave. They were scared to stand in front of the microwave for years. And now everybody has a microwave in their house. People didn't want to put a microwave in their house, right? So it is, let's stop being afraid of it replacing us and let's learn how to operate it. AI will only replace those who don't take the steps forward to operate the tool of innovation. If you continue to be the consumer and not the creator, you will be consumed. Right?
That's a
So
bar. Somebody write that down. That's a bar.
if you continue to be the consumer, you will be consumed. So I will, and I have begun to use AI to enhance my presentation, to enhance my aesthetic. I've already started animating myself and cloning my voice so I can then go do other things because now I can create high level social media content where I can simply write up a script to say what I would have said by just putting a camera on myself, right? That gives me the opportunity to um, uh, duplicate myself or replicate myself so I can create more business and do more. But the poet, you can create cartoons. Use AI to create cartoons with poetry. Perform your poetry as an avatar, as a character. Listen, I've already launched an Instagram page called the Super Poets. So I'm going to I'm going to start writing scripts for, again, I'm a writer. I write poetic productions. So now I can really tell some awesome stories through poetry by 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 now creating more creativity and creations through AI and not allowing it to replace you. Like AI and robots can't replace art. Because yes, you can get a poem out of Chat GPT, but there's no heart or soul in that. There's no person on stage. You're not going to have a robot on stage spitting poetry. There's no conscience, there's no heart, there's no empathy, no sympathy, no lived experience. So we're in a space where we can't be replaced. So we should be rejoicing and getting busy leveraging this new technology.
Okay. See now, okay. By the way, if you're watching this, I need you to do me a favor. Look left, look right. Just grab a handful of gems. They just dropped all around you. It was raining gems everywhere. I need you to listen, save yourself. So that's off with your boy G-Jones. I am Christoph Jenkins. Now with that said, now you said something that's very interesting to me. What you said was AI can't replicate the authentic human as it is. It can't replicate the heart behind the bars and all of those things because we breathe life into what we do. We are that. Now, how? Because if we go back before this, right? You started the poet life, right? Before we had all the additional things to kind of do it and kind of make it easier for us to handle the business of it, you led into that. How did you build that poet life? Where did that title come from? Let's start there.
Hey, watch this. Before there was the poet life, I shared with you it was poet life gear, but before that, in the brainstorming stage, it was life poet. And I was really like locked in on it. And I was like, that's it. My rationale was, anybody who, because I'm real expansive with the way I think, right? So a doctor, the way they use their scalpel is like poetry. So he's a life poet. The barber who does a mean shape up and a mean fade, he's a life poet because the way he does what he does is like poetry, you know. But then I went to sleep one night and woke up like out of my sleep in the morning. I said, babe, I got it. And she's like, what do you have? I said, it's not life poet, it's poet life. She was like, you got it. And what's crazy is this is how I knew that poetry was still a blue ocean, still in its infancy. The fact that poets use hashtag poet life and have been using it for years, but nobody claimed it as something official. I knew poetry was untapped when I searched it on Instagram and Twitter at the time, and well, TikTok wasn't there, and it was available. I said, oh man, poetry is still in its infancy. It's ancient. The community is ancient, but the business of poetry is in its infancy.
Okay.
My mind was blown. The fact that it was available, it was divine intervention. It's like this is what it is, and that's what it became.
Wow. Okay. So you're already doing this thing, and then you come up with the poet life because you start to realize it for you. To me, I feel like that could be overwhelming, right? Because at this point, then you're like, hold on, wait, nobody knows how this works, and you're like, right? So what happens then? Because by the way, for those of you who don't know, this leads to the Poet University. This leads to the Poet Life Festival, as it was. This leads to the workshops with Grammy nominated people. This leads to you doing a podcast with Grammy winners, right? All the things, but zoom back out. For you, you're like, oh, the possibilities are this. What do you do with that information?
Scary, but if the vision doesn't scare you, it's not big enough. You have to grow into vision. that's why God doesn't give you the full picture of it. He gives you pieces. He gives you puzzle pieces that frustrates you, like because you know you got something, and you're trying to put them together, and it's like it's not sticking, and you can't see the full picture, right? That would frustrate me, man. That would frustrate me. But it was good because I had to use what I had and work with what I had. And he said, work with what you have. Just work, you know? And from there, I bought 10 hats that said Poet Life. That's how Poet Life gear started, with 10 snapback hats that said Poet Life. And I would go to open mics with those 10 hats, had a hat case, when hats were like wearing Jordans, snapback hat. You remember
I do.
snapback hat game, all of that.
You know,
I had a
yes, I
hat
do.
case, all of that, man. Yeah. But I would go to open mics with my hats and sell the hats for $25 or something like that. And that the brand started to grow. Other people start wearing the hats and things of that nature. But again, you have to keep your eyes and your ears open for the gaps that you can fill. And I kept seeing that there was lack of representation. There's poets that don't even tell people that they're poets. No one knows they're a poet unless they see the poet at the open mic. And so I was like, where's the pride amongst laypersons, people outside of, like you were saying earlier, people outside of poetry, like super prideful, not prideful in a negative way, but like excited when you're amongst your poet family, but that's not where the opportunities are. If you're a poet in a room full of poets, who gets the opportunity, right? So we have to put ourselves in the other rooms and become the unicorn in the room. And to answer your question concerning it being overwhelming, it is, and it's scary, and you got to pray for another level of confidence to step into your greatness. It takes another level of confidence to step into your greatness, because it's a scary thing, man. Fear of failure, fear of success. For years, I didn't want to be the face of my brand because I knew what came with it: interviews and being on stage. And when I started the podcast, I knew or was afraid of comments. What does he know? He doesn't even perform, and all of that. And I had to learn, if if I'm going to grow, man, I have to learn that all of this stuff comes with it. And but if you find your space, if you find your lane, become a legend in your lane.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
Woo. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna time out because what you did was you dropped two separate gems. So I gotta let the people just digest that. Hey, the first thing, and it's funny that you say this. I will say I went through this. I'm on stages, I'm doing stuff, and then like here's when it hit me. I was at the time I was like at a gas station, and I was like checking out, and then somebody was like, "Hey, ain't you did that show?" In my brain, because just growing up in the hood, random people talking to you, like it's like why you like how you know me,
Right.
man?
You know my
But
name.
how you know my name? Like, why are we having a communication right now, fam? But then what you learn, what I had to figure out is you can't be good at a thing and expect people not to know you to be good at a thing like that. Like I don't care if you were a good mechanic. People are going to know that you're a good mechanic. Like, you should want them to, because that's just what it is, and it's
Right.
not really avoidable if you're good at a thing. Now,
Yeah.
the other part that you said is find your lane and be a legend at it. That means people are going to know you. Like that's That's it. Like you can't, that's a part of it. If you become, that means you started to build a base. That means you started to do something that you can be proud of. And when you're able to do that with a pen, woo, that changes the landscape. And with you specifically, I have to ask this because you've learned to not only be a legend, but to pivot, right? From, because what people don't realize, when you're a working artist, you are an entrepreneur, right? For
Yeah.
you as an entrepreneur who's a working artist, you've pivoted in that business realm of
Right.
the teaching poetry, right? Teaching the business of poetry. How did you learn how to pivot, and when and where, and like how did that happen for you?
Right. Yeah. Again, the gaps. It was the gaps. When you're in the midst of it, you start seeing things. When you intentionally keep your eyes open, and you start to see that people in the space are not knowledgeable. I've always had the entrepreneurial mind. I had a business for everything. I was cleaning carpets. I was a car detailer. I was trying to find my way without a mentor, you know, um, and just plucking, digging, trying to find my niche, my stick, and and God just showed me, listen, man, it's poetry. I know you don't see. Here's the thing, I know you don't see it anywhere. I know you don't see anybody talking about it. The successful poets are not talking about it, of how they got to be where they are. And so ultimately saying that you have to be the one. And that's a scary thing, bro, because the pioneers get the rocks thrown at them first.
As another one, pick them up. Pick them up. It's on the ground right now. Why do the pioneers get the rocks thrown at them first?
Because people don't understand what they fear, right? And if you saw something that looked scary or just unfamiliar, you take a stick and start poking at it. Like, what is that? What is that? You know what I'm saying? If you saw an alien, you running. Especially if you've been in the space and somebody's saying something about the space that they've never heard before, you know, and everything is a scam nowadays. You know what I mean? And so folks have been in the space for 10, 20 years, and now I'm coming with some new information. They're like, nah, man, I've been in this 20 years. I don't know what you're talking about. I've been digging, right? And you have to be bold enough to to show and be the proof. And so what I had to do is I had to start doing I can't come out here and listen. No one would respect what I was saying if I did not do the work. So I had to go do the work. I had to go and make the money with the poetry so I could then not teach per se at that time. It was just simply share my journey. And that turned into teaching. It was simply, listen, I'm not trying to be a guru in this thing. I'm simply sharing what worked for me. And I encourage you. You're doing some amazing things. Make that a part of your brand. Sharing what works for you, what worked for you, for those behind you, because there's always somebody behind you. There's somebody behind you when you're just starting, because somebody who wants to start sees you that started and is inspired about the fact that you started. And then there's somebody behind the person that has not started, that has an aspiration to start, because the person behind them doesn't know what to start with. So there's always somebody behind you that you can share knowledge. And that's all I'm doing, to be honest with you, man. And now I've begun to package what I'm sharing into product, a service. I'm making it professional because I could be talking some good stuff, but if it's mom and pop, I'm still not listening because it's janky.
Absolutely. Okay, now hold on. Now again, you said some things. In case you don't know, you're watching Hats Off with G-Jones. The things that you said, the word that you said, you used the word share several times. The entertaining part about using the word share several times is a lot of poets are nervous from stealing, right? They're sharing, but if I could share and they can steal.
Right.
So how did you find a balance in that type of situation?
You're asking some great questions, the perfect questions, man. So don't worry about that.
Hold on, wait a minute.
So this is where we're going, right? That means I'm looking to my left and my right. If I'm running my race and I look to my left and my right, I slow down. Right? So when you look to your left and you look to your right to see who's there, you slow down, but also the only thing to your left and your right is comparison. And you know what comparison does. You see what I'm saying? Right? It lowers your self-esteem. You see somebody doing more or better than you, and now you see the stuff that you're doing is like, that ain't nothing. No, what you're doing is some amazing things, no matter how small or big, because it takes a bunch of small things to make a big impact, right? So run your lane, focus on your lane, and become a legend in your lane. Now, as it relates to the copying, not a problem. Not a problem with you sharing, because no one can do what you do how you do it. I don't care if somebody created a festival like mine. They don't know what the next one's going to be like. You see what I'm saying? Like everybody knows the ones that took place. They knew where it originated, and not to be arrogant, just it is what it is. And in my mind, in my lane, nobody can create what I create. Nobody has on the back burner. Like when I started the Poet Life, I knew naming it Poet Life, I would be able to run a list of things that I could do with poetry. Like you said, Poet Life Gear, Poet Life University, Poet Life Academy, Poet Life Podcast, Poet Life Fest. I wrote all of that down through vision as a visionary to say, I know I'm excited about all of these things, but let me prioritize one thing first. Let me make that great, and let that be the tree trunk, and then I create branches on that tree trunk. I know we talk about 7 streams of income, and then we have 7 separate businesses that have no connection to each other, and that's not what it meant to having seven streams of income. It means 7 verticals from that one thing, right? You got the one thing that you do. Let's just say you're a spoken word poet. You're getting paid for that. Then there's a vertical for merch. There's a vertical for education. There's a vertical for public speaking. Those are the streams that come from the one brand. Yeah.
All right, now. Okay. With that said, all right, and only a few more questions left, but I gotta go back slightly because I think that this will be very helpful for people. Right, you got to this place, right, of being able to kind of give this game out. Right, you said that there was a hump. Like, oh my goodness, I gotta get past. People gonna want to talk to me. I gotta do the. And then into the sharing space, right? Like you cross the threshold, and now you share all the time. Like you share the journey, you share the game, you share. What are some things that you had to do to, as an introvert, inherently, to do those extroverted actions for not only the betterment of you, but for betterment of everybody else at times, even when you might not get paid for it, when the
Right.
payoff is internal and all this other stuff. How did you get over that hump?
Good question. I had to not claim myself an introvert. I think it is very trendy and detrimental to give yourself negative, non or unproductive titles on yourself, because you limit your growth, right? If you call yourself an introvert, you operate as one, right? So free yourself of the titles and pray for the skill to be personable, but you have to want it. You know, those who keep saying I'm an introvert, you are training yourself to be one, and you're giving yourself excuses not to go to a networking event because you're an introvert. Or let's just take a practical one. I'm not a morning person. What? Who made that up? Like what makes you not, because you're tired in the morning? You understand what I'm saying? So you limit yourself when you put yourself in a box. You know that phrase, think outside the box? Who made the box? Who said there was a box to think outside of? There is no box to think outside of. What are we talking about? You see what I'm saying? So just be creative and build the confidence and the boldness to be creative in every space. You'll become more valuable in your office space where everything is stringent, everything is robotic, papers and reports and things of that nature. Where's the creativity in there? You will become, again, strive to become the unicorn in all spaces. You will automatically stand out. Okay. That's how I strive, man. Again, for things that are not uh, inherent to you, you got to pray for it and stop pushing it away by giving yourself titles that takes it away from you. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'm again, and thank you for that. But with that said, right? So you can stop giving yourself these titles. You start changing the verbiage because self-talk is important, and you kind of start freeing yourself. That's what you did, and then you not only did you start kind of sharing this thing, you said, "Hold on, I'm gonna get some other poets together, and I'm gonna make them share with each other." Like, and then you birthed the Poet Business Network, right? So then, like, how did that happen? What was the thought process between you creating something that you could back away from and let it be its own thing of people sharing and building?
Yeah. So that came out of necessity, because with the Poet Life brand, I was trying to talk to two different audiences with one brand. And it took me years to learn that you can't do that. Right? Because let's just take something super practical like social media. you're not going to know what to post, which means you're confused on what to post, and you're confusing people that consume what you post. Like, who's he talking to? Is he talking to poets or is he talking to organizations? So over some years, and let's just take the website. I didn't know what to post on the website to not confuse people, because I'm talking to poets and I'm talking to companies. So when I was going live daily and building a community there, the idea of the network came from talking to the people, talking to the poets directly, like we're doing right now, but like not with me talking to a person on the screen. It was me talking to the chat, and we were just having a daily conversation about poetry and business. And the festival came out of that, you know. Yeah, they were like, yo, we need to get together, because everybody in the chat was the same people, and it kept growing. And we knew each other by, well, they knew me by face, but we knew each other by usernames. And everybody in the chat was like, man, when the festival comes up, we need to all go. And when we met in person, it felt like we were already family, but we met for the first time in Atlanta. Yeah,
Yeah.
man. So we said we need a home. So we started a Facebook group. We were in there for 3 months and blew that up to however many, I think 500 or something like that. Poetry and business, right? Focused on that. But the Facebook group was so boring and dry because it was just a feed down the middle and no features and things, no functionality. And I started doing research again, understand the commonality in what I'm saying. I kept learning. I kept researching. I kept digging. I in order to grow, you have to keep learning, right? And so I found school.com, SKOOL.com, where it allows you to create your own Facebook-like community. And we came from the Facebook group onto the, and now we are almost up to 600 poets literally around the world, focused on making the transformation of poet to poetry business owner. Because that's where the recognition of who you are presents itself. Because as an individual, we have to understand that as an individual, we're not thinking in a business way, but we want money. We want to get paid. We want to do business things without a business. That's what the poet has been trying to do. Anything related to money is business, right? So if you got a poetry book, you're trying to do business without a business, because individuals don't have products, businesses do. We straight up a person with products trying to sell something and doing it all wrong and wondering why it's not working. You see what I'm saying? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. All right, now listen. By the way, in case y'all don't know, and this ain't an ad, but it is, because I went through this class. Right, I've asked some of this stuff. I'm asking. I know some of this stuff. Like he gave a lot of gems. He ain't even tell. Like there's a lot left. Like there's a lot left. There's a lot left. There's a lot left. I recommend any poet who is looking to find a way to properly monetize and find ways to take the workshops. Because again, there's a lot left. Now, with that said, now we touched on so much. We could keep going, but we're not. What I do ask all of my guests, and I'm curious what you to say, right? If you had to give advice to a younger version of yourself, right? Young C. Jink in the building, you feel me? Whatever they call you, okay? Real quick, what was your poet name? Did you have a poet name at one point?
Christoph writes.
Oh, Christoph Wrights. Okay, right. Young C. Wrights in the building. You feel me? I know my rights. You feel me? That's what he was.
Right.
So, okay, when you was that, if you had to give advice to a younger version, but the year is still 2025, and all the 2025 things, what advice would you give to a young C. Wrights, young Christoph Wrights?
Man, that's a hard one. If I know, or if I knew what I know now, basically.
No. Well,
No.
it's you giving advice to a young you that doesn't know anything. That don't know
Okay,
the
I
young you.
got you. Okay, I got you. I got you. I got you. Man, that's one of the ones that you got to think about. But just straight off top,
And I asked this question because there is a young you out there
right,
in this 2025
right.
year world
I got you.
that could use this information.
All right, so I would confirm that you do have something, because we need to be affirmed, you know, when we're wondering, like, are these pieces to something, or are they just like, pieces that are here? Like, are they meant for more? And I would share with that younger person or younger Christoph, continue to use what you have, and the other pieces will come. It's like, if you have a flat tire on the side of the road and you're just sitting by the car, nobody's stopping. But if you start pushing the car, somebody's going to stop to help you, because you at least started to put some effort into it. Nobody's going to put effort into you if you aren't. Nobody's going to invest in you if you aren't. So you start pushing that car and watch somebody stop to help you push, not lift the car and you sit where you know what I mean? That doesn't, no, it is let people see you in action using what you have. And even I don't know where it is in the Bible, what scripture it is, but be faithful over a few things, more will be given to you. So use what you have.
Absolutely. You got to use what you got to get what you want. Oh, man. Wise words from a great man. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Listen, I want you to know, this has been so dope. You are watching Hats Off with your boy G-Jones. Once a month, I am blessed to actually have a conversation. I make sure that I have a conversation with a poet who creates a platform for poets. So I try to reserve space once a month on this show to have a conversation with, again, a poet who who creates platforms and takes the time to help out the other poets, the other poets in the arena, which you are phenomenal at, especially in this National Poetry Month. So that makes it a double down on this one to get you here. Then, now, what I tell people, as you may know, is if you give me a word, I give you a poem. While you think of this word,
I'm ready.
sir. Well, hold on. I like to do what I call a quick hat tip. Blip, blip. So the quick hat tip. Blip, blip. This is when I give a shout out to some people or some entities that did some dope things. So first and foremost, I'm going to give a quick hat tip. Blip, blip. Oh, to my friend Jay Black, coach Jacinta Black. Yes, she has released her new book, her new journal. Look it up. It's called Talk to Me Nice, Journaling to Change Your Inner Voice. So go ahead, cop that. I don't know how, Christoph, I don't know how your self-talk is. You seem like you are done already changed your inner voice. But, okay. But some people need some help. So go ahead, get that Talk to Me Nice journal. Shouts out to Jay Black Coaching for that Talk to Me Nice. Figure out how to write yourself the right way. Also, quick hat tip, blip blip, quick hat tip, blip blip, to Jamar Ramming. Yes. He will be, by the way, he will be a guest later on this month. He he literally is the director of the hottest library in the country. They done had Lorenz Tate. They done had Michael Vick. They done had the cast of A Different World, Felicia Rashad, all of them, okay? And he is now the president of the Public Library Association. That's across the nation, y'all. Listen, Christoph, again, I don't know if you come to Delaware, but if you come to Delaware, that Wilmington Library is on fire. Okay, listen, they do open mics there and everything. I'll be up on them. Listen, just letting you know, sir.
Yeah.
Come around. I'm gonna tell you where to go. Now, also, quick hat tip. Blip, blip, quick hat tip. Blip, blip. 2. Oh, listen, the Art Loop, Wilmington, City Fest, Wilmington, City of Wilmington, that whole area, because they had me and my man Grillo, Poetic Artistic Connections. Yes, we was doing a tour around the Art Loop, just doing spoken word to some different things. I kind of credit you, Christoph, for some of this, because the thought to even do spoken word to art, create a proposal for it, and then kind of follow through, that came after our conversation, after I was in your workshop. It kind of was like, wait, you can do that? And then, so, yeah, you can. So shouts out to all the galleries involved with that. I had my JK Arsenal, man, he had me doing about mystical creatures. This was crazy. But shouts out to the Art Loop, and again, my man Grillo, for that. Also, a quick hat tip. Blip, blip, quick hat tip. Blip, blip. I got to keep it virtual. I'll be JC, the Poetry Club. They gave the topic of money. We was up in there spitting virtually. They do a thing. So shouts out. She got a whole retreat they putting together. Also, Voices in Power. I had me on that screen. They do their thing, whether you virtual or in person. I love these poetry factions. I love the fact that they give these platforms. So I got to give a quick hat tip to them. Also, a quick hat tip. Blip, blip. A quick hat tip. Blip, blip. To the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Christoph Jenkins. Oh man, literally been giving out the game, gave a lot of game in this actual conversation, sir, for being so dope. Having the conversations with the poets on the podcast, taking the time to talk to me and be such a dope guest. So a hat tip to you, sir. Blip, blip. Anybody you want to give a hat tip to?
You, man. You taking the actions, taking the advice, oh man.
All right, now in case I can't get him back, I don't want to leave the show. He was such an amazing guest. He's gonna have to give me a word another time. If he don't give me the word right now, if he's, I'm gonna come to the people. Right, this is rare, right? But I got some people here watching. There's a couple of y'all in here. If y'all put some words in the chat, I'm gonna go ahead. Whatever word y'all give me, I'm gonna use that to make, do what I do. Y'all give me a word, I'm gonna give you a poem. If I can't get Christoph to join, he might have had a situation. Then I'm gonna just ask y'all, go ahead. If y'all don't mind, somebody put a word into the chat, and I will utilize that for a spoken word situation. All right. Now, with that said, again, I do want everybody to know I appreciate you all for tuning in. This has been a phenomenal show. The replay will be up soon. Watch it back. If you are in the interest of understanding the business of poetry and how you can make money and monetize what you can do, please pay attention. Please tap in for this, because this is one of those. All right. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and do what I do. So, I got a couple of them here. Let's see where we go. I'm going to use all the ones that y'all gave me. If y'all put them in the chat, I'm going to use them. You put the words in the chat, I'm going to use the words, because why not? We here now. And I never do this on my own platform. So y'all go watch me catch and shoot, which like I said, I never get to do this on my own platform. So let's see how this works for me. What's the first word I got? Here it is. All right. Now, hold up. Go ahead. There we go. All right, I got push. There it is. I'm thinking. Well, sometimes I got to be prepared to push those pins and understand that I wasn't stuck because these words are not meant to end. See, for me, I'm being honest. This is how I use everything that I write, to not just acknowledge, but to fly. Well, I don't don't just flutter. I'm more of a butterfly. I've learned to spread my wings so wide that I am allowed to fly above my pride. See, I know him, which is me, and I've learned to catch up in ways that allow me to seek to be everything that I was supposed to be. So in case they think that this is just something that I am meant to let go, they don't know I am meant to stand out. I am your colorful logo. See, I will scream with words that you don't have to hear. See, I am the G that allows you to know that you can move through with the way of the flow so you don't have to hold on to the fear. This is how you realize why the poet is here. I know what you want to do. Sometimes life can get you in a mood and it's hard to keep you cool, but that's when you're supposed to do is express, because otherwise you'll hold on to that energy and internalize till you lose yourself and become that old mess. I digress. See, this is where you're supposed to be. This is where you're supposed to allow yourself to write yourself into a mental retreat. Yeah, this is what you're supposed to see. I want you to see yourself in a different light, no matter how hard it can be. This is how you can become the light. This is how you can become the flight. This is how you can live as what was told to be the poet life. Shouts out to my man. Listen, shouts out to the people. Slid that one at the end, saying just got past it. Shouts out to y'all for tuning in. Shouts out to Christoph Jenkins. Look up the Poet Life. Look up the Poetry Business Network. All the things. Tap into that. That's how you can get yourself tapped in. Get your business together. Again, this has been an amazing episode of Hats Off with your boy G-Jones. I see y'all next Thursday at 8:30. As I always like to say, love yourself first and everything else will fall into place. I holla. Hey.